The Dallas Cowboys are starting to look like the NFL's biggest mystery. One moment they deliver plays that feel unstoppable, the next they flirt with disaster that could erase everything. This team is not just winning games, they are living on the edge of collapse and comeback in the same breath. The shocking part is how often both extremes show up in the very same quarter, leaving fans unsure if they are watching a contender or a team one step from falling apart. That tension is what makes every Dallas game impossible to look away from. The good news is the Cowboys' offense finally looks like it can scare defenses. The playbook showed flashes of creativity, and the skilled players looked dangerous at key moments. Dak Prescott led drives that felt like glimpses of something bigger, with receivers carving open space and tight ends slicing through coverages. But here is the twist. For every highlight, there was a breakdown that nearly gave the game back to the Giants. This roller coaster is why so many are saying Dallas might be the most unpredictable offense in football right now. And the story only gets sharper when you focus on the quarterback himself. Dak Prescott showed moments that felt like he had leveled up, firing anticipation throws into tight windows that only the best can make. Those plays hint at a version of Dak that could lift this team beyond just surviving, but the question is whether that version will appear week after week. Because if it does, the Cowboys are not just sneaking by, they're building something that could take over the NFC. Let's dig into how the offense truly looked and why Dak might be the center of the turning point. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Cowboys and all the NFL content. Can we get 200 likes on this video? The Dallas Cowboys just flashed an attack that can flip a game in a single series. Motion pulled defenders out of their spots, tempo forced communication errors, and spacing gave playmakers clean grass to run into. What nobody is talking about is how layered this plan looked, simple on the surface, yet loaded with answers if a defense guessed wrong. The shocking part is how quickly it tilted field position and confidence once it clicked, turning stalled drives into real scoring chances. Watch how the structure sets traps. They line up in 12 personnel with one back and two tight ends, sell the run, and drag linebackers downhill while CeeDee Lamb crosses behind the traffic. A clear out from George Pickens opens the lane, then Jake Ferguson sneaks the seam after Dak freezes the safety with his eyes. They show a bubble to the flat, read the corner, and snap a slant when he bites. Cavante Turpin wins with outside leverage, snaps inside, and the middle is empty because the secondary respected the sideline threat. 3 answers built into one call, and every read punishes a different mistake. All of that only matters if the quarterback can drive it with timing and nerve. Dak Prescott delivered touch when a loft was needed, pace when a window was closing, and control at the line to keep the defense guessing. This is the version that turns design into points and points into pressure on the other sideline. But here is the twist. If this level becomes the standard, the entire ceiling of the season changes. Dak Prescott walked into this game with questions swirling, but he walked out reminding everyone why he remains the centerpiece of this franchise. The way he threw into windows that barely existed showed a level of command that separates an ordinary starter from a difference maker. When defenders turned their backs, he trusted his reads and cut the ball loose before receivers even made their breaks. That kind of anticipation is the difference between surviving drives and owning them. The most striking part was how Prescott handled chaos. Pressure burst through gaps, yet he never flinched, sliding in the pocket, keeping his eyes locked downfield, and firing darts with confidence. He layered throws over linebackers, placed fades where only George Pickens could touch them, and used CeeDee Lamb's inside leverage to hit strikes that moved chains when the game was hanging in the balance. Each snap felt like Prescott had the defense cornered into choosing which mistake they wanted to make. What nobody is mentioning enough is the ripple effect of this version of Dak. It is not just yards and touchdowns, it is the swagger that infects an entire huddle. Teammates feed off a quarterback who believes he can drop the ball into any window. If this Prescott shows up week after week, Dallas is not just a playoff team, they are walking into every matchup with the mindset of a contender. And yet, as strong as the offense looked, the other side of the ball told a much different story. For all the promise the Cowboys showed on offense, their defense left behind a trail of concern. The line got its push, collapsing pockets and winning some one-on-ones, but once the ball floated past the front, everything unraveled. In the final minute against the Giants, 3 plays covered 63 yards, ending in a Malik Neighbors touchdown that exposed just how fragile this unit can look when coverage breaks down. It was not one missed assignment, it was a chain reaction of hesitation and late reactions. What stands out is the contrast. Against a contender like the Eagles, Dallas tightened up and fought for every yard. Against a struggling Giants offense, they allowed chunk gains and repeatedly relied on flags to bail them out. That pattern of rising and falling with the opponent is not a strategy, it is a warning sign. The NFL does not forgive defenses that gamble on inconsistency, and this one has been flirting with disaster far too often in the opening weeks. The deeper issue is not talent, but trust. Corners hesitated to jump routes, safeties misjudged angles, and communication looked half a step slow. It leaves fans asking a tough question. Is this a defense that can be trusted in the clutch? Because while the offense and special teams delivered their moments, the defense nearly gave it all back. And yet, just when it looked like collapse was certain, one unexpected hero changed the story. Nobody expected the game to swing on the quietest player in the stadium, but that is exactly what happened. The Dallas Cowboys stayed alive because Brandon Aubrey kept his nerve when everything around him felt loud and messy. The shocking part is how routine he made chaos look, drilling the ball with the calm of a season closer and turning a near slip into a statement win. Here is the moment that changed the mood. With the clock draining, he stepped into a 64-yard kick and tied the game like it was a simple extra point. Earlier, he had buried a 51-yard shot, then a 44-yard answer in the fourth, and after all of that, he walked back out in overtime and hit the winner from 46 yards. That is 4 for 4 on field goals and 4 for 4 on extra points, a perfect night that carried real weight. It was not just points, it was belief. Each swing reset the huddle and stole the pressure from his teammates. But here's the twist. A special night from the kicker can rescue you once, it cannot protect you from what comes next. Health questions are stacking up, and they touch two parts of the roster that change games in quiet ways. The return game needs Cavante Turpin at full speed, and the line needs Cooper Beebe steady in the middle. Those stories decide rhythm, field position, and protection. The Dallas Cowboys are dealing with two key setbacks that threaten both special teams and offensive stability. Cavante Turpin, initially feared to have a neck injury, was later diagnosed with a trap strain and is limited in practice, putting his role as returner and fourth receiver in question after producing 8 returns for 181 yards. His absence would push snaps to Jalen Tolbert or Ryan Flournoy and reduce Dallas's leverage under the new kickoff. Cooper Beebe's situation is more severe, as a lateral sprain with a small fracture has placed him on injured reserve for 6 to 8 weeks, forcing Brock Hoffman into the starting center role with TJ Bass as backup. Losing Beebe disrupts line communication and protection, raising the risk of penalties and pressure breakdowns at a position critical to Dak Prescott's rhythm. The Cowboys quickly addressed their offensive line concerns by signing center Wesley French to the practice squad, adding depth and experience behind Brock Hoffman. French, a former Western Michigan standout who earned an active roster spot with the Colts, brings valuable snaps with 8 games played and 3 starts, along with special teams work that shows his versatility. His ability to master protections, sync with Dak Prescott, and stabilize communication gives Dallas a chance to maintain its offensive rhythm despite Cooper Beebe's absence. While this move secures the middle, the team also turned its attention to fortifying the edge with a high-profile pass rusher meant to reshape how opponents prepare for their defense. A veteran edge rusher just entered the building with a point to prove, and that changes how offenses script their week. Jadeveon Clowney brings length, power, and a motor that ruins timing, the kind of presence that forces coordinators to slide help and keep tight ends home. What nobody is talking about is how a single addition can steady a shaky finish because pressure at the snap buys forgiveness on the back end when routes are still developing. Your move, Cowboys Nation. How many sacks do you think Clowney posts in his first month? Give me a number. Should he debut on a pitch count against Chicago? Yes or no? Grade the Wesley French pickup, A through F. Confidence in Brock Hoffman at center, 1 to 10. If Cavante Turpin is limited, who gets the next receiver snaps? Jalen Tolbert or Ryan Flournoy? If you want more Cowboys content, tap like, hit subscribe, and drop your answers below. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.